It's the most wonderful time of the year. No, not Christmas. Not yet. I'm talking about Fat Bear Week. Do you guys follow Fat Bear Week? No? It's amazing. Basically, it's bulking season for all the bears who are about to go into hibernation. So they spend all summer eating salmon in this river, and they're just packing on the pounds. And this national park in Alaska called Katmai started this genius competition where you can actually vote for who's gonna be the fattest bear. So all the bears, they're all tagged, they all have names and stories. Oh, it's so cute. One of them is named 747 because this bear is that big, you know what I'm saying? And then there's another bear, her name's Holly. She's a little cutie. Anyways, these bears have to basically eat a year's worth of food in 6 months because in winter, they lose up to a third of their body weight. They can't really eat or drink at that point because the winter is brutal in Alaska. Obviously, this sent me down a rabbit hole. Or should I say, a bear den. No? Okay, whatever. You guys are hard to please. It turns out there's an area in Alaska that is actually known for being inescapable. Oh yes, baby, this has nothing to do with bears. Plot twist, it's called the Alaska Triangle. And since 1972, more than 20,000 people have gone missing in this area. Yeah, 20,000 people vanished. Poof, no trace. Planes, hikers, locals, and tourists gone. Is it the weather? Is it aliens? Is it a snow monster? Bigfoot? Energy vortexes? Ancient curses? All I'm saying is something weird is going on up in Alaska. Could it be Holly? Could it be 747 eating everybody up? I don't know. So, where did all these people go and what's behind it? Today, we are getting into the dark history of the Alaska Triangle. So bundle up because it's gonna get cold and chilly. Hi friends, I hope you're having a wonderful day today. My name is Bailey Sarian and I like to welcome you to my podcast, Dark History. Here we believe history does not have to be boring. It might be tragic, sometimes it's happy, but either way it's our dark history. Now before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm always posting new content, and let me know what you think down below in the comment section because I love hearing from you and I read comments at the end. Now let's get into it. Yes, I am committing to these mittens, okay? Let me live. There's a lot going on. We got aliens, okay. So, maybe, yes, we've all heard about the Bermuda Triangle, right? Listen, we actually did a dark history episode about it. I'll link it down below if you, wanna listen. But today, we're talking about a different triangle. Oh yes, there's more than one. And this one is much further north, much colder, and much more suspicious. Now, to compare the two triangles, about 900 people have gone missing in the Bermuda Triangle in over a 200-year period. But in the Alaska Triangle, that many people go missing not every 200 years, but every 2 years. What? Yeah, I don't even know why we've been talking about the Bermuda Triangle. The Alaska Triangle, something's going on. I'm talking about an area of land that covers 300,000 to 400,000 square miles from Barrow, also known as Utqiagvik, to Juneau, down near the coast. It's a big area. This specific area is bigger than California and almost the size of Texas. And, this area itself is one big obstacle course. In the Triangle area is the Alaska Range of Mountains, which is home to the tallest mountain in North America, Mount McKinley. Then there's glaciers, which I always thought a glacier was an iceberg. Something that lives in water, but no, I was so wrong. A glacier is a slow-moving river of ice that moves on land. I know. I was like, what? These things can creep downhill under their own weight and pull rocks and like anything else into it like cold quicksand. It's crazy. And then like on top of like the moving ice and the mountains and all that, there's avalanches, the snow, and then you can also like run into swamps and bogs. And in all of those areas, of course, there are wild animals just waiting to eat you, you know? Now, because of all this, I mean, it makes sense that the disappearance rate in this Alaska triangle is more than double the national average. It's not somewhere you really want to go missing, because you're going to be hard to find, okay? But that's exactly what happened to the Douglas.
Do you ever scroll through online reviews like it's your full-time job? Because same. One time I was looking for a blender, so I'm reading all the reviews, and one of them was like, this thing blends like it's mad at my smoothie. And I was like, sold. When I'm shopping online, reviews are everything. I depend on reviews for all of my purchases, okay? And if you're running an online business, you already know customer reviews can make or break you. And that's why you need ShipStation. ShipStation isn't just about shipping, it's about fulfillment excellence. Like, yes, it prints labels, but it also automates your entire shipping process, compares rates across over 200 carriers, and gives you a beautiful, simple dashboard to manage everything in one place. There's a reason why successful businesses use ShipStation, whether you're selling handmade candles or haunted Victorian dolls. I see you, and I love that for you. ShipStation connects you with over 400 stores, tools, and carriers to centralize your business and make sure your orders go out fast, accurately, and with way less stress. So yeah, next time someone's reading reviews on your store, imagine them saying wow, it shipped so fast. I felt like it was incredible. Like Superman just flew it here and shipped it. Wow. That's the kind of 5-star magic ShipStation helps create. Wow your customers and get rave reviews with cheaper, faster, and better shipping. Upgrade to ShipStation today to get a 60-day free trial at shipstation.com/darkhistory. There's no credit card or contract required, and you can cancel anytime. That's shipstation.com/darkhistory.
So, it's January 26, 1950. Everyone in the United States was living in a state of constant paranoia because of something called the Cold War. Brr. I'm not going to get into the weeds of the Cold War in this episode, but basically this is when the Soviet Union and the US were in a standoff because they both knew that they had nuclear weapons, and everyone was freaked out that at any second, someone was going to drop a nuke. There you go. There's the quick little TLDR. Now, Alaska was the only thing between the US and Russia, which back then was called the Soviet Union, okay? So at one time, Alaska belonged to Russia, okay? And then in 1867, America, USA, they bought Alaska for $7.2 million from Russia. And this was called the Alaska Purchase in 1867, which to me was well, why'd they want Alaska so bad? There must be something going on there. But whatever, we bought it, so it was ours. Since there was just a tiny sliver of ocean separating Alaska from the Soviet Union, Alaska basically became a watchtower. So, the military started building air bases, radar stations, and early warning systems in Alaska that would warn us in case there was a Soviet attack coming over the Arctic. So, there were a lot of US military planes flying all over Alaska in the 1950s. And one of them was a C-54 Skymaster called the Douglas. Now, this was a big military workhorse plane. It had 4 engines, and it was just a big old flying tank. Now I'm talking big. It was 117 feet across and 94 feet long. On January 26, the Douglas was scheduled to fly from an Air Force base in Anchorage, Alaska, all the way down to Great Falls, Montana. So, holy shit. On this plane, there were 8 crew members, 34 military servicemen, and 2 civilians, a woman named Joyce Espy and her baby Victor. So in total, there were 44 people on this plane. Now, going from Anchorage to Montana was not like a quick and easy flight. The flight path was known to be long and pretty dangerous. So, good luck. The Douglas was supposed to take off in the morning, but one of its engines needed repairs, so they had to delay it a bit. And then finally at 1 p.m., the plane takes off. Now, it was said to be a beautiful day in Alaska. It was minus 25 degrees, so perfect. And for the first 2 hours, everything's going good. At 3:09 p.m. local time, around 2 hours after takeoff, the Douglas made a routine report. On the radio, they're like, "We're flying over this place. Just checking in. Goodbye." They said they were flying at 10,000 feet over the small town of Snag in Yukon. Snag. Anyways, and they expected to reach the next radio station at Icey in Yukon in about 30 minutes, and then they would check in again. "We're in Icey." So everyone's kind of waiting around, and that next check-in never came in, and no one heard from the Douglas again. But still, it was an industrial military plane, so people still expected them to land. It was okay, maybe they're still gonna land. But when the Douglas doesn't show up in Montana, people start to panic. The military launched Operation Mike, which was named after the pilot, Lieutenant Mike Tissick. Now, this was a serious manhunt. They had 85 aircrafts and 7,000 troops in the area looking night and day for the plane, the crew, any sign of the Douglas. But, they're searching and searching, and they find nothing. No debris, no signal, no smoke, nothing. Just dead silence. By February 20th, just 25 days after the Douglas vanished, they shut the search down. Now, the families were told that their loved ones were presumed dead. And they had no answers. All 44 people on board, a mother, her baby, 34 servicemen, and 8 crew members were never seen or heard from again. And their poor families were left with zero closure. The only explanation was that the plane vanished, But how does a big plane like that just vanish into thin air? Well, in 2012, relatives of the people lost on the Douglas came together and petitioned the U.S. government to reopen the search using modern technology. But they wouldn't unless, quote, significant new evidence is discovered. These fluffies, man, they are getting me. They are getting me good. So the organizers set up a Facebook page called Operation Mike, where to this day, they still fight to get the case reopened and answers for the families. Now, the craziest thing to me is that at this point, it's been over 70 years and no wreckage has ever turned up from the Douglas. And again, we are talking about some huge plane, okay? So a big plane, not a little helicopter. Was it David Copperfield, the magician, who made one of the pyramids disappear or something? Maybe he was involved. Because it's giving that. How did he do that? Was it a pyramid? I swear it's a pyramid. Whatever. It's giving David Copperfield, right? Where did it go? I don't know. Look, of course, everyone has their theories. Some say the Douglas crashed into a frozen lake and then sank, which is possible, except that none of the lakes in question are, they're not very deep, okay? And most likely, something would have like flowed up by now. Now, another theory is that it went off course and it crashed into the ocean. But, many say like the weather was clear that day, so why would they fly off course? And if they did, how come there was no like distress call? Sure, the plane had a repair done before flying, but even if one of the engines started acting up mid-flight, there were 3 other engines to take over. And again, there was like no distress call. But then, not even 2 weeks after the Douglas disappeared, another plane went down in the triangle.
So listen, if you're looking for something truly spooky this Halloween season, like the kind of scary where you question your life choices the second you step in, then you have to check out Dark Harbor at the Queen Mary. It's back and it's absolutely terrifying. We're talking new haunted mazes that go through the actual Queen Mary ship, immersive add-on experiences, delicious food and bars, along with secret speakeasies, carnival rides, so much more. Dark Harbor is one of the largest Halloween events in the country, right in Long Beach at the world-famous Queen Mary. Screams for your life. And hey, if you're looking for something different, you can also hit up the Los Angeles Haunted Hayride and Halloween Festival for even more haunted house chaos. Yay, chaos! Now featuring an exclusive partnership with Elvira to bring you the new Elvira's Trick or Treat Mayhem Maze. Now I get it. Not everyone wants to be chased by ghouls, okay? If you're more like Bailey, I love Halloween, but like I also like don't want to have a heart attack, Then check out the brand new magic of the jack-o'-lanterns in Palos Ranchos. Over 10,000 hand-carved pumpkins, all glowing and gorgeous. Great Instagram photos to be had there, okay? Nothing scary is gonna jump out at you. It's just pretty. Art, pumpkins. So yeah, whatever your vibe, terrified or cozy spooky, LA's got you covered this season. All events are now open.
So, it's February 13th, 1950, and a huge U.S. military bomber plane called the Convair B-36 was scheduled to fly from Fairbanks, Alaska, down to Texas. Now, this plane was one of the biggest bombers ever built. There were 17 military crew members on board, but the plane was also carrying something else. A huge nuclear bomb. Yes. But somewhere off the coast of British Columbia, 3 of the plane's engines catch on fire, which, not ideal if you have a bomb on board. So the crew was told to drop the bomb, release the bomb right into the ocean. And then moments later, the plane crashed into a mountain. Now, luckily, before the plane crashed, the 17 crew members were able to jump out and use the whole parachute situation, seconds before the whole thing went down. And they landed somewhere in Canada. 12 of the military crew who were on the B-36 bomber were rescued. 1 body was recovered later, but there were 4 people who were never found. A couple years later, in 1953, remains from the B-36 bomber plane were discovered. But the nuclear bomb that was dropped, was never found, which is kind of troubling. Now again, this was during the Cold War, so some experts say it's likely both planes had something on board that made them a target. A bomb, maybe, I don't know. And maybe the Soviet Union took the plane out before a distress call could be made. But it wasn't until 1972 that the Alaska Triangle officially got its name, when the FBI tries to cover up an assassination. I know, what the fuck is going on? So, now we're in October. Yes, we are. October 16th, 1972. We're back in Anchorage, Alaska, and a Pan-Alaska Airways plane is leaving for Juneau with some kind of important people on board. First, we have Congressman Nick Begich from Alaska. 2, we have House Majority Leader Hale Boggs, a very important politician from Louisiana. 3, the assistant to both of these guys, whose name was Russell Brown. And 4, their experienced pilot, Don Johns. That's a great name. Don Johns. Don Johns. I like that. Don Johns. It's like a tequila. I don't know. Okay, so listen. So they were en route to a political rally in Juneau, but they never made it. Now, normally when a plane disappears, there's a search, of course, yes, but this was next level. Now, when their plane disappeared, it triggered the largest search and rescue operation in U.S. history at that time. It lasted 39 days, utilized 40 military aircrafts, 50 civilian planes, and they covered over 325,000 square miles of glaciers, mountains, coastline, and ocean. It took a total of 3,600 hours of flight time, and some places even got double-checked on foot. And it left everyone completely puzzled because nothing was found. Not even a bolt, not even an airline peanut, not even a shoe, not even a toupee, nothing. Nothing was found, okay? Nothing. So the government was like, okay, we're calling it. And the search was canceled on November 24th, 1972. Everyone on board was officially declared dead on December 29th. Now, this was the event that made people realize, they had no idea what they were dealing with, okay? Nobody knows what the hell is going on over there. And it's when the Alaska Triangle, officially gets its name. Some people think, there was foul play involved in this specific crash because it turns out that Hale Boggs, one of the 4 guys on the plane, now, he wasn't just like any congressman. He was on a special commission that was dedicated to investigate JFK's assassination. And Boggs knew something was fishy with the whole situation. So publicly, Congressman Boggs, he supported the conclusion that Lee Harvey Oswald had acted alone. He was like, yeah. But behind closed doors, it was said he actually didn't buy it. And he was really trying to reopen the case. Now, this was going against the FBI's wishes. Congressman Boggs told people that the FBI, they were tapping his phone and other members of Congress. And he said that he had proof they were doing it. And Mr. Boggs, he was not holding back. He was calling out J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI at the time, demanding for him to resign, believing that he had too much unchecked power, and that guy just needed to go, okay? So, Mr. Boggs was vocal, and he made some enemies, some big ones. And there was evidence that someone wanted him dead, and that someone was the FBI. Hale Boggs. It sounds like those really healthy. Hale Boggs sounds like those healthy ice creams that have 10 calories in them. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just think Hale Boggs sounds like a healthy ice cream alternative, but it tastes like crap. Or it's just giving me ice. Maybe because we're in Alaska right now, shaved ice. I want a Hale Boggs. I gotta get rid of these things. If you're watching over on YouTube, I have to let the mittens go. They are releasing fluff in every direction. It's up my nose, it's in my mouth, it's in my eye. I'm so sorry. I was committed to the idea, but I have to let it go. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, mittens. God, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Hold on. It was a terrible idea. I'm giving those mittens 1-star review.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. It's not coming off.
Okay. Hold on. Free. Yay. So, listen. Okay. When the flight that Boggs was on pulled a Douglas and POOF disappeared, people were extremely suspicious. I mean, after all, Congressman Boggs was actively trying to get the FBI to reopen the JFK assassination case against the FBI's wishes. And then he disappears. Very convenient, you know? You know, after searching and everything, nothing is ever found, and no one comes forward with any information. That is until 1994. Now, this is when a man named Jerry Max Paisley decided to start talking. Jerry Max Paisley was a convicted mob hitman. He was a bomber, and then in 1994, he was sitting in prison, in Arizona, for murder. Yeah. Jerry Max Paisley sounds like a beautiful wallpaper that I would put in my Animal Crossing home. That would be like a cute little paisley design, you know what I'm saying? But it definitely sounds like a cute wallpaper, right? Or a pad. Get the Jerry Max Paisley. And since he's already in jail, he starts to talk, in hopes to get some kind of plea bargain or something. So he tells a reporter that, quote, in 1972, I was given a locked briefcase by a member of the Bonanno crime family. I flew it to Anchorage and handed it off to two guys. They said something big was about to happen, end quote. Now, Jerry Max Paisley said he found out later that the briefcase he was paid to deliver had a bomb in it, and that it ended up on the plane that vanished with Congressman Boggs. So, did the plane blow up? Okay. And Jerry, he had some credibility here, because after the whole bomb exchange, he ended up going into business with one of the men who gave him the briefcase in the first place. They ended up co-owning a bar in Anchorage. It was kind of weird. He ended up getting married to one of the chicks whose husbands was on the plane that went missing. Yeah, it was kind of weird. Jerry said that there was one day when the two of them were hanging out, him and the business partner guy. They were hanging out, they were drinking, they were fishing together, and then the guy tells him, he's like, yeah, there was a bomb in that suitcase and it was planted. It's crazy, huh? And to Jerry, this was new news to him. Maybe, probably not, but he's like, what? That's crazy. The guy's like, hey, remember how we had you bring us that suitcase? Well, guess what? It was a bomb. They didn't even see it coming. That's crazy. And then they just keep fishing, So Jerry, he goes on with his life and whatnot, and he confesses all this later on. And the journalist contacts the police in Anchorage, Alaska. So by this point, it's 1995. And the Anchorage police are what? This is crazy. This could solve everything. So the police sergeant in Anchorage, his name was Mike Grimes, he contacts the FBI right away. He's like, oh my God, you gotta hear this. This is crazy. So the FBI, they immediately send agents to interview Jerry Max Paisley. And the agent that Sergeant Grimes talked to agreed that this was a huge turn of events, and that, she was gonna keep him posted as to what was going on. So Police Sergeant Mike Grimes, he is just reeling from this information. He is dying for an update, and weeks go by and he doesn't hear anything. So he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna reach out to the FBI, I'm gonna talk to the agent I talked to and figure out what's going on. And this is when it gets weird. So Sergeant Grimes ends up meeting up with the FBI agent in Anchorage, and she basically tells him that she was told to just stay out of it, okay? That was it. Stay out of it. Very unsatisfying. And they literally never heard from the FBI again. Now, Jerry Max Paisley, he offered to take a polygraph test, but no record shows it ever happened. So there were no charges, there was no follow-ups, there was still no clear answers. And that's when the story died. And so did Jerry Max Paisley in 2010. But my thought was, okay, if it blew up, still, wouldn't you find pieces? So then I was also thinking, okay, it blew up. There were pieces. Did they have like a cleanup crew on deck who went and like hurried and like cleaned it all up and then made it look like it just disappeared? I don't know. But this again just added to the phenomenon of the Alaska Triangle.
For some reason, every time fall comes around, I kind of like forget how to feed myself. I don't know. Leaves are falling, Ugg boots on, nights come earlier, fridge is empty. I'm craving comfort food. But the idea of like going to the grocery store, especially like when it gets night at like 5 p.m. No, I want to go to bed instead. You know, I'm very confused when the sun goes down at like 5. But that's why I'm obsessed with HelloFresh. Your go-to for cozy, satisfying meals without, you know, the sad fridge options. With HelloFresh, you get chef-designed recipes and super fresh seasonal ingredients delivered right to your door. And listen, this fall, they've seriously stepped it up. Their menu has doubled, which means there's like 100 different options every single week. Yeah, 100. With everything from hearty classics to seasonal dishes and international recipes. Personally, I've been living for their cozy fall recipes, like this creamy mushroom pasta I made last week. Ooh, I swear it felt like a warm hug from like a forest witch. Everything shows up fresh, pre-portioned, and ready to go. It's like HelloFresh is my fall dinner soulmate. So yeah, next time you open your fridge and you hear it whisper, "Good luck," just remember, HelloFresh is here to save your night. I use HelloFresh, and you should too. The best way to cook just got better. Go to hellofresh.com/darkhistory10FM now to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life. 1 box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's hellofresh.com/darkhistory10FM to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life.
So once again, people were left asking, like, what the hell happened? Did the pilot of this, like, Pan-Alaska plane fly into bad weather, slam into a glacier? Was the flight sabotaged? Did it blow up? You know, was it a hit job disguised as a tragedy to keep the JFK assassination under wraps? I mean, hello. I think that one seems like the best answer. Why else would the FBI shut down a very credible investigation? Just weird. Weird. But some believe that maybe the plane was taken down by a mysterious energy vortex. Yes, listen. Some people believe that maybe the reasoning behind all of this is an energy vortex. Stick with me here, okay? Some people are completely convinced that the Alaska Triangle is the home of a massive swirling energy vortex, like a whirlpool of electromagnetic energy. You know, kind of like what happens in the Bermuda Triangle. You know, people say like their compasses go crazy, or like any of their electromagnetic equipment just starts to like go nuts. The same thing happens in the Alaska Triangle. Search and rescue teams have reported that their compasses would spin 30 degrees off for no reason, and some would even say that they would hear like strange noises in the triangle that sounded otherworldly. God, what's that animal that makes a really weird noise? It's like an elk or something like that. Elks make crazy, creepy sounds. And they're kind of like this weird animal mystery because the bigger the animal, the deeper the voice. Like a bear is like a deep growl. If it's a really big bird, it's like a really deep like caw. But the elk is the only animal that's super big and makes a very high-pitched voice. I have elk knowledge for some reason. I don't know why, but this is a fact. So maybe it was an elk. It's a mystery, an animal mystery. Ooh, new show, Animal Mysteries with Bailey Sarian. Otters, they hold hands when they sleep. Let me know down below if you want to see that. Okay, so elks, not an elk, otherworldly. Many have claimed when they've gone into this area, it's given them auditory hallucinations. Like, you're out there, okay? You're on the tundra, and then all of a sudden you hear your name, like, being whispered behind you, but no one's around. Something's going on. People are like, they're hearing shit, okay? Some experts believe that all this magnetic weirdness might be tied to a mysterious energy project built by the government. Maybe you've heard of it, but it's called HAARP. HAARP stands for the High Frequency Active Auroral. Come on! High Frequency Active Auroral. You know, I had a speech impediment growing up and I had to take speech classes. It was really embarrassing because I couldn't say R words. So this one, yeah, really getting me. HAARP stands for the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Look, this is probably as good as it's gonna get. It was built in the early 1990s, and, of course, it's located right inside the Alaska Triangle. Specifically, right outside a tiny town called Gakona. On the surface, HAARP was created to study the ionosphere, which is the technical term for the upper layer of the atmosphere. This is like where radio waves, bounce around, satellites orbit. It's also where the northern lights happen, okay? Up there, okay? Now, if you were to go to the area where HAARP is at, okay? Which, honestly, I'm not even sure you're allowed to do that. But if you did go, you would see like a giant metal forest. It's made up of 180 radio antennas lined up in rows, all blasting high-frequency energy straight into the sky. So when they flip the switch, HAARP can literally make artificial auroras. It's like their own Northern Lights show. They say that they do these experiments to help scientists figure out how a GPS works, how to predict storms, how to keep military communications safe, which is why HAARP has been paid for by the Air Force, the Navy, and DARPA. Now, DARPA is basically America's mad science lab. Officially, it's the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. But really, it's the US government's way of funding wild, futuristic ideas. So, very official. But is HAARP really just studying the atmosphere, or is there something more going on there? And if there was, would the government even tell us? Of course they wouldn't. But if you ask the internet, or even your uncle who collects a lot of old radios, HAARP isn't just beaming energy into the sky. Many believe, many say, it's controlling everything. Oh yes, there are theories that HAARP is actually trying to weaponize the atmosphere. So they're literally trying to figure out how to cause storms, steer hurricanes, and even trigger earthquakes. That's what's believed. Some people swear that HAARP can even beam low-frequency waves right into our heads, messing with brain function and behavior. So, people have a lot of beliefs as to what the hell HAARP is, okay? Did you ever watch that movie? It was on Disney Channel. It was called, what was it called? Christmas. It was a Christmas weather movie where this kid had this machine and it can control the weather and everything.
Imagine if you had the power to change the weather.
It's giving that. That's what HAARP would be. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was a Disney Channel original movie, and it had this little weather machine, and the guy, he wanted it to be Christmas forever. So then this machine would control the weather, so it was snow and it was Christmas forever. And then of course the lesson was hey, that kind of sucks. You don't want it to be Christmas forever. But that's what HAARP reminds me of, kind of. But it was a cute Disney version of HAARP. But this is Alaska, so HAARP is only the tip of the iceberg. There are people who think HAARP is just a distraction, and that the real source of all these electromagnetic disturbances missing planes and vanished hikers isn't like that weather harvesting antenna farm. But many believe it's something buried deep in the Alaskan wilderness, a massive underground structure known as the Dark Pyramid.
Today's episode is brought to you by Liquid IV. Okay, let's talk about the struggle that is fall energy. Summer's fun, vitamin D, yay! And then it's September. And your to-do list is like longer than a CVS receipt. So whether you're back in class, kids going to school, back at work, or just trying to pretend like you have a routine again, the energy shift, it's real. It's happening. It happens. It's okay. That's why I've been reaching for Liquid IV's new energy multiplier. Sugar-free, hydrating energy. Because listen, we need hydration and focus. And if we're going to survive this fall, that's what we need. The new energy multiplier is so good, okay? It's scientifically formulated with natural caffeine, 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, and 9 essential vitamins without the sugar or the crash. Just 1 stick and 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Sometimes I find myself halfway through working on a Dark History episode and I feel that slump, it's creeping in. And instead of reaching for another coffee, I just mix up a Liquid IV and I'm good to go. So if you're feeling that seasonal shift, or if your energy's been in hibernation mode, or if you're just like trying to keep up with life without completely falling apart, Liquid IV's energy multiplier sugar-free hydrating energy is a must. Get focused, ditch the glitch with 0 sugar and 0 crash from Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first order with code DARKHISTORY at checkout. That's 20% off your first order with code DARKHISTORY at liquidiv.com.
The rumor is that there is like a top secret energy source hidden in the Alaska Triangle, which people have been calling the Dark Pyramid. Now, this pyramid is allegedly 4 times the size of the Great Pyramid of Giza, and allegedly so powerful and so secret that the government has scrubbed it from satellite images entirely. Okay, so if it's been scrubbed, then how do we know about it? Well, in 1992, I guess China, they were out doing their thing and they performed an underground nuclear test. And then geologists in Alaska, they were studying the shock waves created by this test when that's when they came across something weird. And they realized there was something buried 700 feet below Alaska. Something huge. So they do more testing. And when they do more testing, it revealed that this something was pyramid-shaped. Listen, so years later, there was an anonymous retired naval captain. He called into a show called Coast to Coast AM. This was a very popular radio show, especially for those who enjoyed a little conspiracy theory here and there. Paul, for sure, he loves a conspiracy theory. He even came today with his full chart, ready to talk about the Alaskan Triangle, because he did his research, okay? He made a whole presentation. Sorry, Paul, we don't really have to get into it. I don't know what JonBenet Ramsey has to do with the Alaska Triangle, but okay, Paul, he's into it. We like the effort, okay? As long as it stays a hobby and it doesn't consume you and take over your whole personality. But, this naval captain guy, he calls and on air, he said that back in the 80s, he was working on government radar systems in Alaska. And he kept running into this mysterious electromagnetic interference. And none of his superiors could explain it. He said this interference made planes glitch and messed up communications. And over his time working there, he became convinced that the source of all of this unexplained energy was this dark pyramid. So the guy, he goes and he tells his higher ups about his theory. And when he did that, they threatened him with a court-martial and told him to like stay in his lane. In case you don't know, like a court-martial is like getting suspended or even expelled from the military. So people who subscribe to the dark pyramid theory think that the government is keeping it secret because it is such a powerful source of energy. Many also believe that this is where like all the aliens live. This is alien home. I don't know, could be. It's kind of weird. Why not? Life is short. So one man named Nathan Campbell, he actually attempted to find the pyramid. Good for him, you know? He's like, you know what? I'm gonna go see. So back in 2020, he hired a charter plane to drop him off as close to the coordinates of the pyramid as he could get, and then with him, he had 4 months of camping equipment. Now, Nathan, he was 41 at the time, and he had a wife and kids back home, so he brought like a 2-way satellite communicator so he could like send messages while he was away, let them know, hey, I'm here. And on his way to Alaska, he told his pilot, a guy named Jason, all about his plan to find the pyramid. So, you know, they fly out there, and on May 27th, 2020, Nathan was dropped off, and he was feeling confident, right? The pilot, Jason, he arranged to pick him back up on September 15th before the weather would get like too cold. So he's like, see ya, good luck, bye, and then like flies off. But by mid-June, Nathan's family stopped getting his satellite texts, and he was never seen again. You know, search parties went out looking for him. They didn't find any blood or body. They didn't see any sign of like an attack. But they did find Nathan's journal. In the last entry, he said that he was leaving to get water. And that was it. Yeah, a little anticlimactic. I know. It was kind of like a boring journal entry, not to judge. Like, I'm going to get water. Yay. Yeah, but that was it. He was going to get water. Maybe he fell in and like froze or something. I don't know. Nathan's disappearance left a lot of people convinced that he got like too close to something the government like doesn't want us to know about. Of course, you know, that is one theory. Another theory is that aliens got him. Another is that bears got him. Another is that, I don't know, he went to get water and just decided to never come back. Anything could have really happened to poor Nathan out there. There are plenty of boring explanations for why so many people go missing, you know, out in this area. Like the geography of Alaska, which we talked about. It's nature's booby trap out there. So, yeah. But in case you need one last reason to stay away from the Alaska Triangle, allow me to introduce you to the ancient legend of the Otter Man. For thousands of years, the indigenous people of Alaska, specifically by the Tlingit and Tsimshian groups, they have passed down warnings about the Kushtaka, which translates to land otter man. I know, I love otters. Oh, they're so cute. You know, like when they sleep at night, they hold hands so they don't float away from each other? That's really precious. We don't deserve otters. According to native stories, the Kushtaka is a shapeshifter who can take the form of a human, but usually looks like a harmless otter. Based on this image, it does not look like a harmless otter. It looks like freaking a buff man with an otter head. It's very confusing. Yeah. You know, on the cover of those romance novels where it's like a Fabio all buff and like the hair's blowing through the wind, he's holding the woman. It's kind of what this otter looks like. He's all buff and manly looking. He's got a thick ass neck. It's kind of hot. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. All right. The Kushtaka stalks the Alaskan wilderness, sniffing out lost hikers. And it doesn't just like lunge at you out of like trees and then eat you or something. Oh no. According to the legend, the Kushtaka plays with its food psychologically. Like an orca. They play with their food too. Yes, they do. Animals, huh? It'll shapeshift into your friend, your sister, a crying child, whatever it takes to like earn your trust. Then it leads you deeper into the woods. And that's when you either get ripped to shreds or you turn into a Kushtaka yourself. Aliens. It's all going back to aliens, huh? So, a lot going on in this Alaska Triangle. A lot of theories, a lot of ideas, a lot of claims, but even the most boring version of the story with like no aliens, no pyramids, like just facts, it still reads like the FBI might have like carried out a hit, on a sitting congressman and like erased every trace of his plane from the sky. And if that's the baseline, then honestly, like, what is impossible? When you add in the magnetic vortexes, the disappearing aircraft, the ancient underground pyramid, pulsing energy no one can trace, Otterman, a government-powered weather machine, you start to realize that Alaska seems fun. Honestly, though, it feels like every attempt to explain this place just kind of opens a dozen more doors, and each one is just like more insane than the last. You go online and you start looking this stuff up. You don't know where it goes. Okay, some lead to like secret military, ops. Some lead to alien tech. Some just lead you back to the same question. And if we don't even really know what's going on in our own chilly backyard, what else are we missing? So, friends, what do you think? Is there a giant ancient alien energy weapon buried beneath the Alaskan tundra? Are there vortexes and aliens in interdimensional portals? Or is it a big fat bear? Or is it just a case of mostly bad weather and a once-in-a-while strategic FBI murder? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure you got some stories and theories. I know you do. So let me know in the comments section. Let's talk about it. Now, next week, I have a special spooky surprise for all of you. I went back into the archives to comb through some of the spookiest, weirdest, most bizarre topics we've covered here on Dark History. And let me tell you, it's a journey. We're gonna revisit all of your favorite Halloweeny topics. Everything from evil sorcerers and sleep demons to mass hysteria and, of course, the classic witchy moment. So join me next week for a special Halloweeny treat I'm calling Tales from the Dark History Crypt. I better see you there. It's gonna be a real spooky treat. Now, I'd love to hear your guys' reactions to today's story, so make sure to leave a comment down below so I can see what you guys are saying, and your comment might even be featured in a future episode. Now, let's read a couple of comments you guys have left me. Teletubby? No way! Teletubby, 1926? Love that. Commented on our Momsters episode saying, as someone who recently found out they might be distantly related to Ma Barker, thank you so much for covering her. I was having trouble piecing info together, but a little Bailey goes a long way. LOL. End quote. Really? What? Look at that. Dark History is teaching people more about their families than 23andMe ever could. Bold claim, but I said it. Are you really related though? That's crazy. That's crazy. Let me know. You got pictures or something? I've heard people are like finding out like some wild information on those ancestry sites, You never know who you might be related to. So that's interesting. Any crazy family stories? What do you got? Photos? Inside scoop? You can't just say that and like not give us some kind of like inside scoop. Let me know. Thanks for sharing. And I'm glad you liked the episode. Built from Brokeness commented, I thought I saw Joanne in a Windex commercial one time. End quote. Joanne? Who's Joanne? Oh, do you mean the fabric store that closed down? Wow, so sad. Joann's was like so good and just like shut down. Is it Joann's that closed down? Is that who you're talking about? Joanne? She was in a Windex commercial? Or do you mean Joan? Joan? Joan, is that your stage name for when you're doing Windex commercials? Okay. So Joanne, yeah, I guess she does commercials from time to time. So you may have recognized her as that crow flying into the glass. But good for you, Joan, or Joanne. Abigail Jolene left us an episode suggestion saying, on my hands and knees, Whoa, girl, what are you doing? Oh, asking for the third time for Dark History of the Witness Protection Program. All right, Abigail, get those knee pads out, girl. You know, it hurts. You know, when I think about the Witness Protection Program, I think of that Disney movie, Princess Protection Program. Did you watch that? It's the one where like a princess is almost kidnapped by a dictator, so they send her to like America to be a regular high school girl. She becomes like prom queen, whatever. Anyways, Witness Protection Program. I think that's a great idea. I would love to do that. But here's the thing. With the Witness Protection Program, it's all about secrecy and stuff. So how would we tell a story that's very, very secretive? Okay. I mean, I like that suggestion, and I'll definitely consider it. It could be fun. Thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me and commenting. Keep on commenting because maybe you will be featured in a future episode. And hey, did you know you can actually join me over on my YouTube where you can watch these episodes on Thursday after the podcast airs. And while you're there, you can also catch my murder, mystery, and makeup. So don't forget to subscribe. And hey, if you don't know, Dark History is an Audio Boom original. A special thank you to our expert, Andrew Goff. And I'm your host, Bailey Sarian. I hope you have a good day today, you make good choices, and I'll be talking to you guys later. Goodbye.